want to welcome you. My name is Leon, and we want to welcome you to Center of Attraction this morning. Hallelujah. Where Jesus is the center of attraction. Amen. Amen. So we're going to have our vision and mission statements coming. We'll read this. Our vision: to be the best training and evangelistic ministry in the world. Our mission: Center of Attraction exists for the purpose of glorifying the name of Jesus through worship, Christian discipline, and the proclaiming of the gospel. What kind of place is this? A progressive and prosperous place. A place of worship to our God, an apostolic and prophetic place, a place of community and international outreach, a place exploding in growth. Amen. And what did Jesus say in St. John 12:32? If I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. So what are we going to do today? We're going to lift him up, lift him up, lift Jesus up. Hallelujah! Lift your name on high. We love to sing your praise. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus. Our scripture today is going to be found in Psalms 138. 1 through 5. And it says, I will praise thee with my whole heart. Before the gods will I sing praise unto thee. I will worship toward thy holy temple and praise thy name for thy loving kindness and for thy truth. For thou hast magnified thy word above all thy name. In the day when I cried, thou answered me, and strengthened me with strength in my soul. All the kings of the earth shall praise thee, O Lord, when they hear the words of thy mouth. Yeah, they will sing in the ways of the Lord, for great is the glory of the Lord. Amen. Great is the glory of the Lord. Lord, we just thank you for your greatness this morning. Lord, we just thank you that you're going to move by your Holy Spirit, Lord, that there will be healing today. Lord, we just thank you for the greatness that you didn't have to do it, Lord, but you sent Jesus to the earth to rescue us, Lord, and we just thank you. We praise you with our whole heart. We praise you today, Lord. Oh, yes, Lord. We give you the honor and the glory and the praise. In Jesus' name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Give God some praise. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. We'll have our praise team come and sing unto the Lord. Praise him. Yes, Lord. Yes, he is.
Hallelujah, somebody. Hallelujah, somebody. Praise
our Savior and Lord. He came to proclaim that this is the acceptable year of the Lord. Say it, this is the acceptable year.
This is the acceptable year
of the Lord. And he says, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes. Somebody was acting beautiful today. Now somebody else may interpret and say, boy, they sure acting ugly here today. But the truth is that we put on some beauty this morning. Turn to somebody and say, you look beautiful this morning. And Dave definitely tried to be the beauty queen of everybody. The oil of joy for mourning, garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Amen. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Hallelujah. name is Perazim, say the Lord of the breakthrough. Come on, I see it in your mind's eye right now. Just see the Lord breaking you through to your promise right now. Just see it. Lay hold of it, receive it, claim it right now. Come on, come on. Claim it now. Hallelujah. Because it belongs to you. It belongs to us today. For the things he has done. Thank you. And the things he's about to do. He's about to do some great things on our behalf. Scripture says in Revelation, he says, John, I am. Well, I was and is to come. He's the first and the last. He's everything in between. What am I saying? That if God did it before, he can and will do it again. Say, God is up to something. Say that. And he's going to do it again. Say it. He's going to do it again. And he's going to do it great. Because God is a great God. Hallelujah. Come and clap those hands and praise the Lord. Hallelujah.
Lord of the breakthrough, Lord of the breakthrough, you are the Lord of the breakthrough, and we worship you, and we worship you, God of the breakthrough, God of the breakthrough, you are the Lord of the breakthrough, and we worship you. We worship you, God of the breakthrough, God of the breakthrough, God of the breakthrough. You are the Lord of the breakthrough. We worship you, we worship you, God.
And this is the ship that breaks the ice and makes the way possible in these hard places for the other ships to follow. The Lord is saying to us today, you may be in a hard place, but know that I am your breaker to make the way possible for you. No turning back, no jumping ship, no quitting. Stepping on through. The Bible says, Psalm 37:23, the steps of a righteous man are ordered of the Lord, and he delights in the way of that righteous man. So today we may need to repent, come up to the altar and say, Lord, forgive me for backsliding or getting off course because it's been hard. I have procrastinated. I have been double-minded, but today in your mercy you have reminded me. You reminded me of who you are in my life. So I refaith myself to you. Come to the altar now. Just you and God, you and God. And we're not saying you're a sinner, but we're saying you come short of the best God has for you. It's been hard. God knows it's been hard. This is why this message today, thank you, praise team. This is why the message. Time and time again, the Lord is saying, I am your breaker. I will make the way. Hallelujah. Talk to the Lord about it. Refaith yourself in Him today. Refaith yourself in Him today. Those of you that are doing, refaith yourself wherever you are in Him today. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. We refaith ourselves. So difficult at times. So insurmountable. The problems seem to be so long term. It seems to be no end. But God, tell them, but God, I heard your message today. No matter how hard the case is, you're breaking through for me. You're breaking through for me. Yes, yes, yes. Lord of the breakthrough. Lord of the breakthrough. Lord of the breakthrough. Lord of the breakthrough. Breakthrough for your people right now. Breakthrough for us now. Breakthrough for Center of Attraction right now. Breakthrough, Lord God, for Prophetess and Apostle James today. Breakthrough for every family today. Breakthrough now for our children, God. We don't know what to do. Breakthrough now for grandchildren and great-grandchildren today. For businesses, for partners, for marriages. Breakthrough now, Lord God. For the dreams and the aspirations. Oh God, you said all the call on your name shall we sing. Save us in this hour, Lord. Save us in this hour, Lord. Save our families today. Save us from financial woe. Save us from the depression, God. Save us from being wayward, from our habits, God, that seem to be destroying us day by day. We trust in your finished work. We trust in you now for the way being made, and we refaith ourselves to you now. We revow ourselves to you now. Yes, Lord. As you give up under yes. Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. 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 Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Come on, let's pray in the Holy Ghost. Let's pray in the Spirit. Right where you are, let's pray in the Spirit. Let's pray in the Holy Ghost. Stay focused, stay focused. Pray in the Holy Ghost now. Seal him in the Spirit. It's not by power of might, but by his Spirit. See yourself coming out. See yourself entering into the brightness of your tomorrow. See yourself right now in the brightness of your tomorrow. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Come on, put on your strength this morning. Put on your strength this morning. Put on your strength this morning. Command every weakness of the flesh, every weakness of sin to be bound and broken right now. In the past, under the blood, right now. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. That's all that will take away. Say that again. All the other things fade away. Yes, Lord. All the other things fade away. Till it's only you. Yeah. All the other things fade away. Jesus, take your place. In your Jesus, take your place. And everyone right now, say, all the other things fade away. Doesn't mean anything anymore. All the other things fade away. Till it's only you. Every stress, all the other things fade away. Every depress, every failing thought. We declare Jesus to be exalted. All the other things fade away. My God, my God. All the other things fade away. My God. is, and is to come. The Lamb of God takes away the sin of the world. Take your place, O King. Take your place. As we decrease, increase God in our lives. That our light may shine, that men will see our good works and glorify you in heaven. Hallelujah. Please be seated. We want to pray for the depressed. This arrest. We can manage 1 or 2 days, but when it gets to continue, this thing has been more than you can handle. I don't want to embarrass you, but we got to shame the devil today. That you just stand. We will pray for you. Shalom, Sike, Koremi, Shalom. Anyone else? You already know. All right, get off that piano. Get off that piano. That's all right. Amen. Jacques needs to learn how to play the piano or something. Come on up here, everybody. Come on up here. Anybody been delivered from depression? Let me see your hand. Been delivered from depression? Anyone else been delivered? Yeah. Now come on up here. Matter of fact, we're going to help. Come on up here with the prophet. She's going to help today. Come on up. We family here. Amen. Come on. It ain't no sin. We all, amen. I struggle with it. I think we all had our bouts. Amen. Come on. This anointing with Paul.
Some of the greatest prophets had problems with depression.
That's good.
Prophet ran from Jezebel. He had a great victory, right? One time, those false prophets. Jezebel did was threaten him and he ran. It was in the cave and God asked, what are you doing here? God didn't must said Elijah or anything. What are you doing here? And he fed him angel food for 40 days and then sent a fast on his tradition to finish what he was supposed to finish. So just because you're depressed don't mean you're not a great person. That means something is coming against you. It came against David. Why thou downcast, O my soul? Put your trust in God. Get your eyes off the problem and get your eyes back on the answer that's in the word. Begin to, I will yet praise you. And see, David, this is a secret. I will yet praise you. Because you're the help of my life. You're my glory. You're the lifter of my head. They said was no hope for me. But God, you're my glory. That's Psalm 3. Hallelujah. God before you. Who can be against you? Yalabosha. Kalalabosha. It is called a spirit of heaviness. It is called a spirit, a dark spirit, a spirit of mourning. So we bind a lying spirit in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And we lose the spirit of truth. I bind it and come out in Jesus' name. Come on, check out. And don't entertain it. Don't open the door for it. Don't open the door for it. Don't open the door. Let me go to the outside. Give me the noise. Give me the noise, Lord. Shut up, Lord. You got to go. It said, put on the garment of praise, which I saw you do this morning for the spirit of heaviness. You dark morning spirit, leave in Jesus' name. I lose the spirit of intercession in you. If anybody is married, the Bible says, sing songs. And if anybody, it says, let them pray, let them pray. It says, let them pray. So begin to pray, begin to pray. Get your prayer life. Get a worship life. Get that up. Cast off the spirit of heaviness. You put it down. You put it down. Say, I will right here on your own belly. There is a vitamin D. Lord, let the healing virtue begin to flow. Let the healing virtue flow. Come on, bring it in. Come on, outside. Begin to pray in the Holy Ghost. 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 Hallelujah. What do you see? What do you hear? The Holy Ghost is going to help you. As you pray every day, He will show you things and He will peel you like an onion. He will peel you like an onion. One layer at a time. One thought at a time. One finger at a time. Yeah. Say, Lord, heal me on the inside. Say, heal me on the inside. Every memory model, clean it out with the blood. Clean it out with the blood of Jesus. Clean it out with the blood of Jesus. Put the cross in it. Put the cross in it. When they came to bitter waters, they wanted to kill Moses. Moses prayed and God said, go get that stick. Throw it in the water. When the bitter waters became sweet, you put the cross in it. What can separate you from the love of God? Nothing. What can block you? Nothing. If you put the cross in every situation, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Father, forgive me my trespasses, as I forgive them. You ready? You ready? You ready? Come on, come on. Right now, Jesus, we put the cross in. Somebody say, Prince Royal. Prince Royal. Prince Royal. The ladder shall be greater. The ladder shall be greater. You got your eyes on everybody. But Jesus, the ladder shall be greater. It was the sons of Joseph. And Jacob was dying. And he said, Joseph, bring your two boys so I can bless them. And Jacob did the crisscross. And Joseph says, no, Daddy, you got this wrong, Daddy. You got your hands on the younger than the older. He said, what I'm saying is that the younger will be greater than the older one. So I'm telling you, the Lord, crisscross. You don't say, you ain't no accident. God sent you here, and God is doing a crisscross. Don't let nobody steal your anointing. Don't let nobody take you down. God got great things in store for you. It's a matter of time, the Lord said. See, you got to make it your time, not nobody else's time. So stop looking at others and look to Jesus, the author and finisher of your faith, your Alpha and Omega. One is helping you write your book. The book called The Floor Read. That's turning the page. And the floor means little flower. You think that's your city in Mississippi because you don't blossom into the man that God wants you to be. In God's time. Come on, do that crisscross again. I had a dream about you this morning. It was a very good dream. Very positive dream. That God's going to promote you. That God's going to exalt you and use you in the end time. And it will come to pass. It will come to pass. If you are willing and obedient, there's obedience level God got to take you to. It's obedience level. Because you say sometimes, God, why? He said, why not? Can you walk with me? Can you walk with me? Can you walk with me? By yourself. Can you walk with me? Make it up. Crisscross, there it is. Come on. It's not too late. The promises He's given you. He said, I will do it. I will do it. I will do it. He's going to set you in high places. Get you a passport. But you got to obey God. It's not over till God says it's over. So pick back up your mantle. Come on, pick up, throw that over her. Come on, pick back up your mantle. Pick it up, put it over your head. Get there. Yeah, pick up your mantle and become the prophet. Become the prophet God called you to be. Go in the secret closet and begin to see. Go in the secret closet and begin to hear. And don't come out till you have a fresh word for the body, a fresh word for the church. The the face of the waters. So that movement is the Holy Ghost movement. The movement is the Holy Ghost movement. Get ready to move, get ready to move. With the Holy Ghost, hey God, hey God. Come on, y'all. Somebody help me pray in tongues.
Hallelujah, saints. He whom the Son has set free is free indeed. You're free to do a new thing. Look at me. Say, you're free to do a new thing. Now, if you believe that, then I want you to do an act of faith here today, and I want you to stand and declare to your present and to cry out to your future, submitting to God, James 4:7, resisting the devil, and this really hits you to the core of who you are. You're going to stand and you're going to say, I'm stepping into the new. Can you give me a seat? Give me a seat. Give me a seat. Time you're going to stand, you say, I'm moving into a new thing. I'm moving. See, now step. See? And now here comes momentum and movement. And now you're going to stand and you're going to say, I'm moving in a new way. I'm moving in a new way. Some of y'all act like you believe what you just said. The disciples who was used to fishing at a certain time, I'm not a fisherman, but where's David? I'm not a fisher. But there's a certain time and a certain place when you fish. And the disciples were done. They brought their nets in, they're cleaning their nets, getting all the seaweed out, all the debris out, they're ready for their next day of fishing. And Jesus came to their business. My God, I'm talking to someone. Jesus came to their handiworks. We're going to give God our hands today. Yes, we are. The work of our hands. Our hands represent our works. Whether you're working to help Kareem, your mother, or where you are writing and planning for your business, whatever the case may be. And here's the point. Look at me and listen. Jesus said, launch in the deep. That's why I was telling you to get up and begin to say that this is a new thing now, launching in the deep. Now y'all should be saying now. No more baby steps now. No more baby steps. The best is yet to come, but it ain't coming if I ain't thinking the best. Amen. And Dawn, this is for you. Yeah. You're going to get out of those cramped places. You're going to dream bigger. Expect the best. Amen. So I'm expecting the best. I'm not admitting, but I'm trying to see everything that took place, even of what prophet just got through saying. I'm telling you this right now. I'm telling you this right now by the Holy Ghost. You ain't putting up with you no more. You're not doing it. You're not putting up with you anymore. You was okay to get you where you are, but it ain't okay to where you need to go. Something has to change. Something has to change. Come on now. Preach this now. So not only just the best is yet to come, the best has come. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. The best has come, James. The best has come. I remember when Muhammad Ali came on the scene, everybody, I heard my mama, auntie, everybody complaining how arrogant he was. Was he arrogant? No. Or was he very confident? I am the greatest. Come on, say it. I am the greatest. You know why? Because the greater one is in you. Whatever you put your hands to do, it's going to be greater. And greater than others. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. That's part of my confession out there. I'm a great husband. I'm going to put you that. I'm a great husband. I'm a great apostle. I got to think that. I got to believe that. I got to walk in because you can't be what you ain't saying. As a man thinketh, so is he right, because what he's constantly thinking of, sooner or later he or she are going to say it. And when you begin to say it, you lay the tracks. To step and to move. And also, so I take dominion over every procrastinator. Stop with your excuses. Somebody cry out, no more excuses. Excuses covers up a lie. Lying to yourself. So we're stepping. Here we are as I close. This scripture. And we're moving in the direction of my destiny. My purpose. Hallelujah. Look at me now. Every one of us struggling with something. Every one of us. Or some things. But you're looking at a great man. You're looking at an overcomer. I'm not saying I don't have low moments, but the Holy Ghost picks me up. Has he ever done it? No matter what, he picks you up. You belong to me. You my baby, my daughter, you my son. You made after my similitude. If I'm great, you're great. Tony the Target ain't the only one that says it. Great. Say, I'm great. Say,
Great.
say, I'm greater than this. Because this ain't going to get in the way of that. Shabo shabo. My God. Come on, somebody stretch. Say, I'm going to that. I'm going to that. Do you see it? You got to see it to grab it. You got to grab it, lay hold of it now. Yeah. So here it is. She mentioned also Psalm 24. No me si me de cosa. Mari de su tu me da. Benedire su petu passa cano musudini ana dia so. Menene idio su balana pa. It is so, says the Lord. It is so. It is so. It is so.
Yes.
Amen and amen, not amen, but amen. You study what that means. So in Isaiah 61, you mentioned prophetess about the glory is in the house. Jesus says in in Luke chapter 4, but Isaiah foreshadows the Messiah, as this is a messianic scripture, chapter 61 of Isaiah. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the broken heart. This all has to do with the sin condition of man. To proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Captive with depression. Today he has opened the prison to them who are bound. Say, I'm bound no more. I'm bound. Look at me. So if you're bound no more, you are bound less. Well, that means I can only go so far, and I know bound less. There are no boundaries. Nothing's stopping you. There's nothing that's hindering you. Say, nothing is stopping me. My God, I felt the thrust of the Holy Spirit. Nothing's hindering me. Hallelujah. 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 To proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn. Here it is. I've been mourning, I've been depressed, I've been sad, I've been grieving. To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, in the house of God, to give unto them what? Beauty, and also for ashes. Say beauty for ashes. Beauty for ashes. Beauty for ashes. As in antiquity, they would grab the dust and throw it up over their heads. In sorrow, tearing, ripping the front of their clothes, mourning, grieving over a loss, a death, and sometimes in fasting and praying. But Jesus is saying, as God is speaking through the prophet, foreshadowing the Messiah coming, when he comes, say, the Lord has come. See, if you've accepted him as Savior and Lord, he's already come. Listen, what is he doing in you? He's giving you beauty for ashes, not grave clothes and all of this dust and gloom and doom, but a circlet of crown of acceptance, a crown of beloved, a crown of sonship that only you can wear. Say, I'm beautiful. The oil of joy for mourning. Hallelujah. That's why James says about us having joy, even when we're going through hard times. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaven. Is this not the word that we've been bringing today? Are y'all seeing the connection? Singing the appropriate songs that now led to, I guess this is my message, that now led to this prophetic move, this new song, God of the breakthrough, to lead us to prayer, deliverance, and now the word. See, I have
the same two scriptures. I wanted to read those two.
Yeah.
The space wasn't there. I had the same exact scriptures already read. Then I have one more. Isaiah chapter 11. When the Spirit of the Lord comes upon you, the Spirit of wisdom, the fear, and understanding of the Lord, the Spirit of might. That's the anointing. And the Lord said to me, when the Spirit breaks out, He said, people are coming out of captivity.
Yes.
He said, the Spirit is breaking out because the breaker has gone before Him. The breakthrough has already gone before Him. So you can break out of that situation. Come on. You can break out of that situation. You can break out of that. I will not be a prisoner in my body. I will not be a prisoner. You will not hold me captive. I'm coming out. Somebody say I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I'm coming out.
I repent for all of us. For considering, looking at our situation that's causing us to be bowed down. Shouldn't this daughter of God, shouldn't she be loose from being bound over 18 years? And not a religious spirit out there was willing to do anything for her. Keep taking your medication, you'll be okay. It'll be all right. Tomorrow will be a better day. But nobody put a super on her natural. You know why we don't do that? Because we don't believe it ourselves. And Jesus loosed her from 18 years of being bowed over. And Isaiah says, no matter what the heaviness is, no matter what the ashes, no matter what the current situation may look like, these are trees of righteousness. Say, I'm a tree of righteousness. Which infers you got all kinds of roots going on. And all kinds of fruit going on. Hallelujah. And when the storm comes, you just bend and come on back up again. Hallelujah. You can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good woman down. You can't keep the righteous down. They're going to spring right back up again. Right back up again. Here comes the storm of life. Holy Spirit says, lift up your head. I better go there right now. I better go there right now. I better go there right now. Turn to your neighbor and say, he's going there right now. He's going there right now. He's going there right now. I gotta keep. We just slapping the devil. We slapping the devil. We're burying. I wish I had a shovel. We're burying the old. Ain't no resurrection for you, old James. Where about that old man? That old man is dead. The earth is the Lord's. We're going to help us confess this dawn. Psalm 24. Now, you don't have to stand if you want to, but amen. I mean, some people just want to be bold and stand and do that. But let's go to Psalm 24, verse 1. Let's read it up together. Ready? Read. The earth is the Lord, and the fullness thereof, the world. We're going through the whole division here. Let's go. For he that founded on the sea, established it upon us. Who shall ascend to the hill of the Lord? He that clean hands and pure heart, look behind you and say, I'm not going back there. That's the wrong way. No. Amen. Now, for some of you, I'll give you a little challenge, but this is what I heard in the Spirit. And this is between you and God. So, however you came here, don't go back the same way. Don't drive back the same way. I don't care if you got to move down this one block and come back around. Don't go back the same way. And talk. You know, our problem is that we're talking about everything but the right thing. You got more talk about the president, more talk about the government, more talk about Social Security, more talk about all of that, and you're losing sight of the destiny God has for you. Who cares who's the president? Who cares who's in government? Who cares what they're doing to the left or right of you? 1,000 at one side, 10,000 at your right hand. That evil ain't coming to you. Stop it. I don't have time to talk about sports. I don't have time to talk about these crazy shows. Okay, I better say it. I'm on. God bless y'all on YouTube. All these shows y'all watch, it starts with an E and starts with everything else. And you want to find, I ain't got time for that. I'm pressing toward the mark that God has for me. Amen. So that's your challenge. Amen. I'm going a new way. I'm going a new way. God is doing a new thing. You got to say that every day. You got to talk. My point here, what I was just saying, I'm saying that, what's coming out of your mouth, you got to keep talking destiny. You got to keep talking purpose. You got to keep talking calling. You got to keep talking commission. You got to keep calling and those things that be not as though they were. Amen. And call yourself great. You wake up, boy, this is a great day. I'm a great man. You might say a great woman. Glory to God. It doesn't make a difference, Abraham, what things look like, because it says there in Romans chapter 4, he spoke those things that be not as though they already existed. Somebody say amen. Open up your mouth and use your vowels, your consonants, use your words, your sentence, your paragraph. Amen. Use all of that for the glory that God has given to you and that which is to come for you in the name of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
I didn't read the rest of Isaiah 61, which said that we are to build up the old waste places.
Yes, we are.
I told God the other day, I'm tired of building stuff up that's been all broken down. Give me something already done. I want to move into my next year with nothing. And the Lord said, but I made you an expert at this. I ain't say nothing else to him after that. My wife will tell you, in time I can turn bad situations around for good. I can turn a building around for good. I can turn a thing around for good. Amen. I said amen. Amen. That's the spirit of excellence. What's the spirit of excellence? The spirit of excellence, y'all, is that when you have something broke down, your vision and image of it is to see it operational, and you'll do whatsoever it takes to make sure it's operational. So our black car, Caprice Classic, amen, it was on its last leg. I said, God, all this rust, what am I going to do with it? Lord said, put some putty on it, sand it down, and I'm out in the winter. I'm talking to the elements back then. This is back in the 90s. I said, you better not snow when I'm trying to paint my little rust spot with black paint here. And I begin to sand it down. This is spirit of excellence, amen? You see something, you say, no, I got to make this thing better. No way, I'm going to make it better. So I put the mud on there, Duke, and I began to sand it. 25-degree weather, I didn't care. Amen? And went down to, those stores, I don't know which one it was now, AutoZone or something like that, bought me some black paint, and started painting those rust marks. Amen. But I got tired of looking at rust. I couldn't do any better at that point. Hear what the Holy Ghost is saying. Greatness is out there. And some of us, I don't know who taught you this, that, you know, I'm going to wait until greatness meet me, or one day I'm going, no, greatness is step by step.
Yes.
Excellence is step by step. You're faithful over a few rust marks, amen, and God will give you a house to fix up. Fix that house up, God will give you the apartment, fix, you know, a complex. Fix that up. Hallelujah. Amen. How come you can't have a couple of those big old things you bought yesterday brought here? Amen. You said, boy, we got a problem. There's going to be a good problem. That means we need a bigger house to take care of all the, you know, valves. Now we got to get a bigger place. For all these big old trailers and trucks you got here. Now we got to build a barn. Come on, people. And you know how we'll think? This is how we think. Well, our house is too small. I can't afford putting that. It'll just block up too much space or whatever. But the Lord is saying, amen, fill yourself up now. Let it be a good problem. Amen.
Yes, it is.
So, I think we're done.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. And we're going to move right on with the program. Do we have a program? Okay, we have a program.
Don't have a program.
Amen. Amen. God is good. God bless you.
Yes, amen. He is good. God is truly good. Let's turn our service to our announcer, and let's greet our announcer. Amen.
Praise the Lord. These are our announcements. Wednesday, August 21st, food giveaway, invite and come to serve. Understanding Dreams and Visions class will be August 23rd through 25th. The cost is $25 per person. Fasting and prayer every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Bible study for morning is 11 a.m. also. United prayer, is 6 p.m. and Bible study Wednesday evening is at 7 p.m. Tell someone about Jesus and invite them to church. Today, do we have any first-time visitors in the house today? Please stand and give us your name, church home.
My church home is Taggart Baptist Church. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Amen.
My business is Jennifer Reed, Francis, 19, House 57.
Amen. Welcome. Back in the hands of the pulpit.
Let me say something real quick. We're going to get ready to do our offering here in a minute. But first of all, let me just say that, did we have a blast yesterday? I talked to Mary Ann and said that we couldn't make it to the Spalding place. I think you called and said that it was all booked. And so I said, well, let the people know that. And she reported back to us, they were just jubilant, just rejoicing. I said, well, where were they when we were in the meeting here? Nobody said nothing. Everybody was just stoic. Okay, we're going to the Spalding Park then. So it sounds like that we enjoy staying here. I want to personally, and then I want Prophet to say so real quick, and then we'll move on. But I think this was a banner year for us as a Lakeshore picnic, and everybody just came out ready to have fun and ready to eat, and you know, all the games and things that we had and food. If you have missed it, just talk to about 3 or 4 of them, and they will make you feel bad when they talk to you. Our picnic, I tell you. And it was just good to see all the t-shirts, and we had fun. We had the little ones, amen, and we got a little queen bee back there that I can't see right now. What's her first name again? Zanaya. Yeah, she went to all the men there. Bypassed all the women, amen. But anyway, it was a fun time. We had games, of course, and outside field games as well as we had the face painting, wasn't that? Amen. I tried to get the horses, the little ponies, but I couldn't this year. So next year maybe we'll get the pony. They're so expensive. Amen. And Robert's not here, but his brother used to do that. But he doesn't do it anymore. But we'll probably get some ponies next year. Amen. Just kind of be with your little one. Because, yeah, we don't want them galloping over the highway. Thank you for bringing your little ones out. We do applaud the efforts of Dick. Now listen, he is a master extraordinaire as it relates to food. I think we have some folk baptized in the Holy Ghost. Once they put that shaved beef in their just bring some next Sunday to 7 years. Thank God for your support, Val, and Marianne team, and who helped Marianne. You want to say something? Go ahead.
I'm not sure if there's anything left over, but there is a few leftovers. So if anyone that was not here yesterday, if you want, I know some spaghetti salad. There's plenty of dessert left over. Please make yourself welcome. I'm not sure if there's any meat. Richard, you would have to speak on that one because I think it was some hamburgers left and things like that. So they're in the refrigerator, spaghetti salads and things like that. So welcome for leftovers. You know leftovers is the best.
You wanted to say something?
Yes, everything was wonderful yesterday. I thought it was real nice. Just a beautiful atmosphere of love and friendliness. I think it was Tina that said food, fun, and fellowship, and we had that yesterday. We didn't get the chance to play our Bible trivia, so next time we will play our Bible trivia. There's some people.
That's only for those that like to cheat in it. So.
See that? People on the cheeks and scramble. So anyway, that was wonderful. Thank you for singing happy birthday to my little grandson, Nathaniel. Nathaniel James turned 8, and so that was so exciting. He was very happy to be here with Papa and Nana, and so that was great. And then our grandbaby's birthday was coming up too, little Diaz. So we were celebrating 2 birthdays. But thank you so much. Everything was wonderful, and the food was good. And somebody made me a sweet potato pie. Pasta was absolutely fantabulous. You've never tasted anything so good in your life.
Now this is her terrible weakness. So this is her terrible weakness. What did you have for breakfast? And then she has shit. Oh, very good.
Everything was wonderful, so we got to make sure we get it back on the calendar again, and it was great this weekend. It was perfect. So I don't know if we can do it better whatever day. Yes, everything was perfect.
Thank you for bringing the little people out too. Because that makes it fun as well.
In our bouncy house. I don't know where you got it, but that was nice. Kids seem to enjoy that.
Yeah, amen. All right, praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Finally, let me say that as we're closing out today, this understanding dreams and visions. Okay, I get so many calls. I had a dream. What does it mean? I said, go to the one who gave me the dream. That's what I tell them. And if there are some things that I can help them with, I can. But John Paul Jackson. Anybody heard of John Paul Jackson? Just a supreme prophet, went on to be with the Lord, but just a powerful man of God, very understandable. You know, some prophets aren't, but anyway, he is very clear with Scripture and very learned. And so he will be our speaker via the program that's online. Now, this is a 17-hour study. So this is the first of several others, okay? So we're just asking for $25. There will be a love offering as well. If you're interested in the booklet is $50. And you can go online. I can tell you where the website is if you are interested. I did purchase a book and we'll be making some copies. We'll see how we can get away with that decision. But if you want your own, it's $50 as you go on his site. Okay, I think that's it. All hearts and minds clear. Amen. Did we do birthdays for August?
First. Birthdays in August, August 1st. Anybody else got a birthday in August? Stand on up. August 18th, all right.
August 28th.
28th. 23rd. All right, stand on up. We're gonna sing happy birthday. Amen.
Is that day with George? It's not mine, it's the Lord's, but she back there. Hers on 25th.
Okay. All right. Happy birthday. That's my birthday, it's August 1st.
He wants me to know his birthday was August 1st. Happy
challenge 20 or whatever. It's going to be like 200. I know somebody, someone already gave $50 towards it. Yep. Okay, all right. So we can get at least 150 right now. Let's do that right now, please. Make it out to the church. Thank you. All right. For those of you who ate more than one plate, God bless you. Make sure you get it. God bless you. God bless you. All right, we'll wait for you. Else is in the house. It's in the house. Amen. I told y'all before, we're not poor forward. We're not poor forward. Amen. Yeah, use your car. Let's do this quickly and then let you go. Benediction in about 2 minutes. Thank you. God bless you. Bless you. Bless you. Cards are good, because that means it's not $2. Bless you. Bless you. Anyone else? We'll take your $2. We'll take your $2.
I gave you money, we got some other people getting money up here. About 75 of us up here. I gave you money.
$45.
I gave you money and some other people.
All right, good. I think we're good now. Then you just give us a receipt. And whatever, whoever gave already, we'll just subtract that and then give you the receipt. Okay? All right, I think we're good to go. Thank you. Thank you. Lord bless you and bring increase to you. Let there be briskets and pulled beef and fish that overflows. You think I'm not here? Amen. See, you can witness. Amen.
Yes, indeed. Y'all stand now for our benediction, which is found in the book of Numbers, the 6th chapter, the 24, 25, 26th verse. And it reads, "The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace." Go in peace in the name of Jesus, and make Jesus the center of your attraction. You are dismissed.